Hello everyone, I am Manas Srivastav and you are watching UPSC Essentials of the Indian Express. And now we are going to discuss about the key terms of the past week. These are the key terms which you must have seen in the headlines of the Indian Express or in the explained section of the Indian Express. The key terms from the last week have been categorized as per the UPSC syllabus. So let's start looking at them one by one. Let us understand why was it in news. Dear aspirants, IFFCO launched the world's first nano liquid urea during the 50th annual general body meeting. It was later explained by Avinash Nair in the Indian Express explained section. Let's see what is relevant as per our UPSC syllabus related to this term. So, what is liquid nano urea? In the explained section, a particular scientific definition but easy to learn has been given. So, what it is? According to the explained section, it is essentially urea in the form of a nanoparticle. Now you should know that urea is a chemical nitrogen fertilizer which is white in color, which artificially provides nitrogen. Now nitrogen is a major nutrient required by plants. Another important aspect which you should keep in mind is that liquid nano urea has a shelf life of a year. Also, just keep it in mind that this product has been developed by IFFCO's Nanobiotechnology Research Center at Kalol. The next question which should hit to your mind is how is liquid nano urea different from conventional urea? This is also answered in the explained section of the Indian Express. The answer to this is that while conventional urea has an efficiency of about 25%, the efficiency of liquid nano urea can be as high as 85 to 90%. Also, conventional urea fails to have the desired impact on crops as it is often applied incorrectly. Also, an important question which should come to your mind is that how liquid nano urea is different from conventional urea. This question is also answered by the explained section. Let's see what it says. It says that while conventional urea has an efficiency of about 25%, the efficiency of liquid nano urea can be as high as 85 to 90%. Also, conventional urea fails to have the desired impact on crops according to the explained section, as it is often applied incorrectly and the nitrogen is vaporized or lost as a gas. A lot of nitrogen is also wasted or washed away during irrigation process. So the question now should be that why was West Nile virus in news? Now according to one of the reports in the Indian Express, Kerala Health Department was on alert after the death of a 47-year-old from Thrissur due to the West Nile virus. Now earlier in 2019, a 6-year-old boy in Malappuram district has also died with the same infection. Also to keep in mind that the virus was first reported in the Alappuzha district of the state in 2006 and then in Ernakulam in 2011. Later, West Nile virus was explained by Sohini Ghosh and Shaju Philip in the explained section of the Indian Express. The first question which should come to your mind is what is West Nile virus? According to the explained section, the West Nile virus is a mosquito-borne, single-stranded RNA virus. It is a flavivirus which is related to the viruses that cause St. Louis encephalitis, Japanese encephalitis and yellow fever. Now the question arises, how does this West Nile virus spread? To answer this question, let's go back to the explained section. According to the explained section, the Culex species of mosquitoes act as the principal vectors for transmission. So what you have to underline or keep in mind is the Culex species of the mosquitoes. It is transmitted by infected mosquitoes between and among humans and animals, including birds, which are the reservoir host of this virus. According to WHO, mosquitoes become infected when they feed on infected birds, which circulate the virus in their blood for a few days. The explained section of the Indian Express tells us that the virus eventually gets into the mosquito's salivary glands. Also, during the later blood meals, that is when mosquito bites, the virus may be injected into humans and animals, where it can multiply and possibly cause illness. We are also informed that this West Nile virus can spread through blood transfusion from an infected mother to the child or through exposure of virus in labs. Dear aspirants, you should also know that how these viruses cannot spread for your prelims objective type questions. So let's answer this question. How can these viruses not spread? As per the WHO and highlighted in the explained section of Indian Express, it is not known to spread by contact with infected humans or animals. Also, it does not spread through eating infected animals, including birds. We are also told about the incubation period of the West Nile virus. So what is the incubation period of the West Nile virus according to the explained section or WHO? The incubation period of the West Nile virus is typically 2 to 6 days, but it can also range from 2 to 14 days and can be several weeks in immunocompromised people. Now I am sure you must be curious to know what are the symptoms of this disease, not only for the UPSC exams, but in general too. So what are the symptoms of West Nile virus? So it is explained to us that the disease is asymptomatic in 80% of the infected people. In the remaining 20% cases, the symptoms will include fever, headache, fatigue, body aches, nausea, rash and swollen glands. Let's understand why was it in news. According to one report, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Mann Ki Baat praised India's startup ecosystem as he highlighted very rightly that the country has reached a landmark figure of 100 unicorns with a valuation of more than $300 billion. Let us now understand unicorn or unicorn startups as per our UPSC syllabus. And for this, we are going to take the help of the explained section of the Indian Express. According to the explained section, unicorns are privately held, venture capital backed startups that have reached a value of $1 billion. Dear aspirants, there's one important point which you all should note, that the valuation of unicorns is not expressly linked to their current financial performance, but it is largely based on their growth potential as perceived by investors and venture capitalists who have taken part in various funding rounds. The final point which you should keep in mind is from the perspective of our country, India. And the point is that the startup ecosystem has seen a 9-time increase in the number of investors and a 7-time increase in total funding of startups. This term is in news because of various ED raids, summons and arrests. Without going into the political part of the debate, let's understand why this term is relevant for our UPSC preparation. If you've been following our UPSC Essentials, you will note that we covered this topic in brief in a one word a day section of the UPSC Essentials. Let's revise it. What is money laundering is the first question which comes to your mind. The 1 word a day section of our UPSC Essentials define money laundering as following. Money laundering is the illegal process of making large amount of money. This money is generated by a criminal activity but may appear to come from a legitimate source. Criminal activities may include drug trafficking, terrorist funding, illegal arms sales, smuggling, prostitution rings, insider trading, bribery, and computer fraud schemes that produce large profits, but they are illegal. The other question which should come to your mind is that what are some of the national and global efforts to combat money laundering? So some of the national efforts are the Smugglers and Foreign Exchange Manipulators Act of 1976. The second is Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act of 1985. Also, the most important is the Prevention of Money Laundering Act of 2002 and the PMLA Amendment Act of 2012. Other than these national efforts, the two important agencies which deal with these money laundering cases are, number 1, the Financial Intelligence Unit, and number 2, the Enforcement Directorate, which you hear a lot of time in the news. Enforcement Directorate is a law enforcement agency and economic intelligence agency which is responsible for enforcing economic laws and fighting economic crimes in India. The main function of ED or the Enforcement Directorate is to investigate offences of money laundering under the provisions of the PMLA Act. You must also note that India is a full-fledged member of the FATF and follows its guidelines. Now let's talk about some global efforts. I think the names will suffice. Firstly is the Vienna Convention. Secondly, the 1990 Council of European Convention. Third, the International Organization of Securities Commissions. And then the important one, the Financial Action Task Force or FATF, which has been set up by the governments of the G7 countries. IMF also deals with the money laundering cases. And last but not the least, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes. So these were some of the key terms from the last week, which will remain relevant in the times to come as well. Do not miss the UPSC Essentials Key Terms of the Week segment, which releases every Monday. Dear aspirants, UPSC Essentials and UPSC Key are two initiatives of the Indian Express for your benefit, which you should make the best use of. Don't forget to subscribe to Indian Express for more such videos. Think smart, work hard, conquer your goals.